This is what's growing in my garden on March 11th. Look at these crocuses. This is in full sun and they're opened all the way. I like those yellow insides and purple petals. And at night they close up and then they open up the next day. And here's some yellow crocuses right here next to some tulips that aren't blooming. Here's more crocuses, more purple ones. And here's some variations on the purple crocuses. And I've got bark chip mulch everywhere, which I get for free from the city. And here's a daffodil just getting ready to bloom. Seems like all my crocuses are purple. There are a few yellow ones, even a few white ones, but most of them are purple. Those are kind of light purple. Those are nicely, they look best, I think, when they're opened up all the way. That's going to be a hyacinth when it blooms, and you can see the bloom down there inside. Those are really a little bit taller, maybe a foot, and they're very fragrant. Have nice flowers. This is a hollyhock that I just transplanted a few days ago, and look how well it transplanted this early in the year. Early spring is the absolute best time to transplant your plants, and I try and get as much dirt as I can and disturb the root ball as little as possible. And sometimes it's even better, although I never remember, to dig the hole first and then go back and get your plant. Here's another hyacinth right here. But yeah, and you don't have to water transplants very much either, because in the spring it's so cool that not a lot of the moisture dries up and the soil is usually pretty moist, and you get a lot of spring rains. So you don't really need to water your transplants, and that's why it makes it so easy to transplant in the very early spring. And just disturb the roots as little as possible, I think, is the best thing to remember. Tulips aren't bloomed yet. There's a few daffodils blooming now, though, but we should have some tulips blooming by next week. So sure and watch that video next week when I'm walking around the garden. I think these are daylilies just coming up right here. I put down mulch in the fall after all the plants have gone dormant. That's a poker, a red hot poker, and those are irises right there. I don't know what that little thing there coming up is. I love going around watching all the stuff coming up. These are either daffodils or mystery lilies. You can't tell until they start blooming. And when the mystery lilies bloom, this is yarrow right here. When mystery lilies bloom, they bloom without any foliage. So the foliage comes up early in the spring and then dies back in the middle of summer, and then in the fall the flower comes shooting up all by itself without any leaves, and that's why they call them mystery lilies. But the foliage comes up right along at the same time with daffodils, and you can't tell the difference till they bloom. There is another hyacinths. These are Siberian squill, little blue flowers, and they reproduce all over the place, and they look really nice. The more of them you get clumped together. Those are crocuses right there. And then right here is some poppies. They send up the growth early in the spring and then bloom, and then by the middle of the summer they're done. I think these are crocuses that are not blooming right now. Look at the white stripe there on the leaves down the middle. And that's what makes me think they're crocuses. If you look at these crocuses here, you can tell they're blooming. So, and they've got the white stripe on all the leaves. So they must be crocuses. And here's a whole bunch of, I believe these are Gloria of the Snow. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the name. Latin names are better in some ways because so many plants have the same common name. This is a daffodil. It's just that the Latin names are so hard to pronounce. And here's more either daffodils or mystery lilies. Here's some perennial sedum down in here that I planted a few years back, and it just has grown all over the place in here. Perennial means something that lives for several years. Those are daffodils right there. And there's poppies. And an annual is something that its entire life cycle is in 1 year. It's a Japanese iris, I believe, next to some crocuses. And its entire life cycle is in 1 year. It grows up, flowers, and goes to seed, all in the same year. Whereas perennials will grow up and flower and go to seed, but they do that for several years without dying. And there are some perennials that are hardy, meaning they can withstand freezing temperatures. And there are some perennials that are tender, meaning that they can't stand freezing temperatures, like what we think of geraniums, which is actually pelargonium. Those are, they will freeze, whereas in places like in California and Florida, they grow year after year, grow into big plants like little bushes or something. But around here they die every year. And here's more sedum that I planted. It was like a big tray of sedum, all different kinds. And then you just take them out of that tray and plant the whole thing. And I think they got that at Lowe's a few years back. And these seashells, we were on vacation in Alabama in January and picked all those up. And I actually wished I'd have picked up more of them when Julie and I were walking on the beach and I was just picking up seashells. This is real geraniums, cranesbill geraniums, which is the real geraniums, and they are hardy. And this one has been here for several years, and it's a big clump of it all over the place. So all these little starts in this big area here are all coming off of the same plant. This here is a variety of Missouri primrose. It's been there several years now, but it's never bloomed. I keep hoping that one of these days it's going to bloom. A biennial is a plant that grows 1 year and seeds the second year. And they're generally hardy. Hollyhocks are biennials, and you have so many of them growing together that you don't notice that some of them only flower the next year. So they flower every other year. Just like this here is a Sweet William. And I believe it's a biennial too. So it grows one year and flowers the next. And this has been here for a few years. I started them from seed and then planted them there. This has been growing here for a few years, but I think it's a little pink coral bells. This plain one without the variegated leaves and everything. And here's a tulip that's not bloomed yet, but it's getting ready to bloom, and you can see the bud there coming up. And so it'll be blooming here in a few days. And these here are growing out in the yard, and I actually don't know the name of them. I'll have to look that up. And but they are a wildflower bulb that probably spread from the flower bed, and then since then it's probably died in the flower bed because I dig in there so much that a lot of times things die if I am digging in there. I don't know they're there. This is a Latin rose or Helboris, and this one here has been in here for several years. I think I actually bought it as a plant originally, and oh, it's been there for quite a few years. Here's some more Glory of the Snow. These here are, that was Vinca minor there that's blooming. And there's some tulips that has been growing here for years in the raspberry bed. This raised bed here, last year I filled it up with well-aged wood chips, and just a couple days ago I put a bag of raised bed soil, they called it, 2 of them in here, and raked it out level on top of the wood chips. And then I planted these rows of flowers that are supposed to be able to be planted early in the spring, like peas and spinach and things that can take the cold weather. And here is another one of those raised beds, and you can see that it's really good soil. That was really well-aged wood chips. The city has piles of them, and you can just go out there and dig them if you're a resident of Galesburg. And here's some potting soil that I got 2 bags of it. I'll probably put on the next raised bed. Here is how I hesitate to call it mulch, but this is compost. I hesitate to call it compost, but here is how I make my my mulch. And in the past, I have just used straight wood chips, but I'm going to in these barrels here beside it mix wood chips and lawn clippings from when I bagged the grass, and that's basically what's in here now. It's just lawn clippings, a lot of leaves and everything from last year, and I've put a bunch of wood chips in here, but they seems like they're composting pretty fast because it was full, and every time I add stuff to fill it up, then a few days later it's composted down. So I don't know if that's real compost or not. Here's the 2 barrels that I'm going to use, and they both have holes in the bottom. This one here, it's got bigger holes because the bottom's now rotten out. It's a really old trash can. And the other trash can there, I drilled some holes in it, but I use that to put in my extra wood chips and grass clippings, and just dump the bag from the lawnmower in there. And then I can, as I use these in here, the mixed up mulch, I'll add more to it. This is my herb garden. I planted a few things in here last year, like some chives and perennial herbs. I think here's the chives right here. They come back pretty good this year. I got a lot of strawberries growing in here. I planted some of them. I did have a strawberry bed here and an asparagus bed on the other side, and the strawberries have gone over to the asparagus, and they're growing all over the place. And a lot of them have come up through this mulch I put down last fall of well-aged wood chips. And here was grass. And to cover up the grass, I put down these bags that you use to put your grass out on the curb with when you your lawn clippings and anything like that. You can put it out there, and the city will pick it up. If it's just natural stuff like sticks and twigs and grass clippings and leaves and whatever, because we're not allowed to burn leaves here in this city. And so you put them in those bags and put it out on the curb. Well, I just took those bags and put them on the ground and then covered them over with wood chips because I figured they would compost very nicely into the soil underneath of the wood chips. This tree here beside here is a honeysuckle, and it drops seedlings everywhere. And you can see this one here. I was lazy and dug it up, didn't dig it up. I just cut it off at the ground level. Of course, it grows back, so I'm going to have to come back and dig it up this year or this spring. And this is a concrete block. I'm going to plant moonflowers in there, I believe, and just fill it up with potting soil and let the moonflowers climb up the tree here.